Welcome to Heart, where we break the silence, bridge the gaps, and bring real conversations about mental health to the forefront. I'm your host, Lee Yaffe, founder and director of The Long Short Road. Hi, Azriel. Welcome to the show.
Hi, thank you for having me on. It's good to be here.
Good to be here. I'm excited to talk with you. So, I like asking my guests to begin our interview by introducing themselves in their own words. So could you introduce yourself, please?
Sure. My name is Azriel Boymelgreen. I'm 21 years old. Um, I'm the founder of the Bereishis Foundation, an organization dedicated towards providing financial aid for families who are unable to afford therapy for their children. We also have a podcast along with an education department to help implement curriculums into schools across the United States.
Awesome. Super cool. Can't wait to jump into all of this with you. So, I guess my first question is, could you take us a little bit into like what led you, a 21-year-old, I mean, for all intents and purposes, a kid still, to start such an organization? Like, was there a moment or like a series of things that happened that led to the creation of Bereishis Foundation?
Yeah, I would say it was more of a series of moments rather than one big moment or a ever evolving amount of moments.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I really started off the organization off my own personal experience through the mental health system. I was the first year ever that I went to like a school where I didn't really know anyone and I had to make friends and it really hit me how unequipped I was when it came to that.
Mm,
Um, and it was hard for me to make like real friendships that are strong enough to last. So that was kind of a struggle for me at the time, but I was able to make some friends and I got through the year. And then when I grew up like really religious, so when and all those schools were Jewish, but then when I reached fifth grade, um, my family was having some personal issues with addiction, and I just had to get some things figured out. So we moved down to Florida, and that's when I went to public school for the first time in fifth
wow.
grade and that was like a whole new experience. It was a real shock.
Okay.
and and that's kind of like when I started not fitting in as much with that new community because um, I'm there like with my yarmulke and tzitzis in a public school in uh, like Wynwood at a time where people really don't. It's all like artists and stuff, and nobody really even speak English. So that was very interesting. And um, while I was proud of my identity and still like making friends out of school, in school was very hard for me. And I would get bullied a lot, and like they would take off my kippah or like pull on my strings or um, just like stuff like that. And that, like, at first it was like, whatever, like, I don't really care. And then over like a year or two, it started like building up. And then uh, eventually I was just like sitting by myself every day, um, and just like sleeping through the classes and like failing every class and
Oh,
um, yeah, just no friends
oh.
and not trying to make friends at that point.
Can I ask you a question, Israel?
Yeah.
What time did you realize what an impact that was having on your mental health? Like, did you see how that, like, were you aware that it was impacting you, or were you just kind of trying to like survive?
Well, I felt like it was more on me because I've always had trouble when it comes to big changes. Like when I found out I was going from after to public school in Miami at like um at like 12, I tried like hanging myself
Wow. Wow.
just because of that. So like
So how old were you when it like really turned? You recognized that there was like a significant mental health challenge happening. How old were you when that really took root?
well, I didn't really know what mental health was for a while. So
Right.
like I knew I needed to change something. I didn't know what the word mental health was. So I was like, okay, maybe it's my environment and because I'm not like within my community. So that was my idea of like something's wrong mentally. So I'm like, I'll go to uh, a boarding school, a Jewish boarding school somewhere, and I'll be good and I'll make friends and all that. But at this point, it's been like 4 years since I was like in a Jewish crowd. And so I go to New Jersey in a Jewish boarding school, and like I still don't fit in. And now I'm like completely disconnected.
Wow.
And like we have totally different hobbies and all that type of stuff. So it was hard for me to make friends again. And this is when I was like in 15, 14, 15. And it was like ninth grade. And um, this was like 2019. And, uh, but then I saw like a few of the kids in the school were like starting to use like substances and stuff. And then I saw that and um, I didn't know what it was. So I was just like, oh, let me try it. And I
Mm,
tried it. And then um, I got like really messed up, and I didn't like it, but I realized that it's a great way to socialize and takes away my social anxiety.
totally.
So um, then I would start uh, using stuff like every day and just hanging
Mm.
out with that type of crowd and becoming friends with those type of people because I felt like that was like real friendships, and that's the only way I could
Can I
make
pause you
friends.
for a second, Israel? I just want to, like, for our audience and for people who are listening, I think you've just shared something so important. And I just want to stay here for a second because what I'm hearing is like the trajectory of what you were experiencing was going from a place where in your younger years, you really had you had family around you and your community around you and you were surrounded by people who knew you and you that socialization was so important to your well-being. And as you got older and moved to different places and even coming back into a Jewish environment, socializing and finding the right crowd was so challenging for you and it was so emotionally painful for you, as you shared, that it even
Yeah,
led to a suicide attempt. But that substances became then an entry point to allowing you to connect with people. And I just want to point that out for a second because, and stay here for a second because I think you and I know, and I'm not trying to put any blame on the community, but I do think that we look at young men in our community who are trying out substances and we like list off all the things that are wrong with them and why they're doing it. And like, I think we've actually talked about this off camera before, like in phone calls, that like drugs open a door for you to feel more at home in your body when you don't feel at home in your body and around.
yeah. People don't use it because they're like, "Oh, let me distance myself and get away." People are like, "Oh, I want to be able to walk down the street without having anxiety and without having to think people are staring at me." You know,
Totally. It
being
like
able to just enjoy and live like everyone else.
it does fill a void and it fills a need. Like if those needs are not being met, right? Like Gabor Mate says, ask not why the addiction, ask why the pain. It's like if someone is in so much pain and they're not getting those needs met by community or connection or something meaningful, the obvious place that we will go is to something like a substance. So I just wanted to like kind of add that layer before we go on. Um, and then I remember you told me that at one point you did go to like you went into a program that
Yeah.
wilderness,
So
right?
yeah. So yeah, it was around that time. So like, what happened was, since I started using substances a lot, my suicidal ideation started to grow even more,
Right.
and I was just like,
Very
"Why?"
common. Sorry to stop you again. That's very common,
Well,
right?
yeah, because you start to feel empty and
Right.
like numb and you feel off. And then, like, if you're not taking something, you get like splitting white headaches and you feel like you're going to die. And it's like, why go through all that? But,
Right.
and you forget the reason why you even started taking it. Eventually you start taking it for more of the feeling rather than
Right.
for the solution you wanted to fix.
And I hear that from a lot of people that like at first any kind of substance, if it's alcohol, if it's weed, whatever it is, psychedelics, if it's used in the wrong way, right? Like at first it is filling a need for you. Eventually it's just like your body just doesn't know how to be present, not high. Like
Yeah.
you just get so used to being high or whatever it is that like it does lend itself to feeling way more anxiety when you're not on it. So it's just this vicious
Even
loop.
at a certain point, if you don't like it, like every weekend I would take like mushrooms and acid at the same time, like a lot,
Oh my God.
like, and then I would take. I was like 16, and I would take
This
uh
together. Oh my
my bike and ride around Miami on like the main street on acid and mushrooms
oh my
and just explore for the day. And I would get lost because I'd be by myself
wow.
and I wouldn't have my phone. And but I didn't like it. It's just like I didn't know what else to do.
To do. Right. Wow. Wow. So then that all of those experiences of using all and like as you were saying acid and mushrooms together, I was like, that is like I can't even imagine what that's just like two super intense substances at the same
Well, mushrooms, acid, and MDMA
Oh
same
my
time,
gosh.
and then it's called a hippie flippy. But yeah, it's not recommended.
Oh my goodness. So then, I mean, can I ask you a question? Like jumping into being in the wilderness program, right? Which you attended at what age?
Yeah, here, let me get
Yeah.
to that because I totally went off
Set up for
track.
us.
So yeah, so all these substances. Then I got hospitalized in New Jersey. New Jersey has the worst like psychiatric hospitals ever. No offense, but they basically I went there for the first time, not knowing what it was. My counselor brought me because I told him I was suicidal, and he like really helped me out. And he's like, "I'll take you down to the hospital and we'll get this worked out." So I went with him, and that was really hard. By the way, I was like sweating and like all nervous because I hate being like uh, open with my emotions to other people because it makes me feel weak. And um, since I was in boarding school, I had to wait for like 6 hours for my mom to fly down. So she flew down, and then they were finally able to put me in the hospital. And the mental hospital part is in the basement with no windows or anything.
Oh my gosh.
And they gave me like a gown that still had like blood and band-aids on it. And then um, they put you in a room with like 20 guys. And then so I was there for 2 weeks, and that was awful. And I didn't even have to be in there for 2 weeks. It was just the doctor wasn't there, and he was on vacation for like a week. So nobody was able to get out that week.
Wow.
So it was
Wow.
pretty awful.
Oh my God.
But eventually I got out and I started outpatient therapy and I got sent back to Miami. And at this point, I kind of stopped school and I was doing like 6 months therapy like every day,
Wow.
exposure therapy, DPT therapy, and stuff. I actually still have my books.
Wow. Oh my gosh. Is that the DBT manual?
Yeah.
Oh wow. Wow.
I only filled out like 2 pages. I don't think
Okay, but
honestly
still.
2 pages.
But so
But
then let me add, and I just want to say something here for a moment before I'm sorry I keep interjecting. I just feel it's so important for the audience who's listening to this conversation to like just zoom in on something for a second. You know, within the long short road, when people call the warm line or when we train volunteers, the number one rule is do not hospitalize again unless absolutely 100% necessary for exactly the reason of the story that you just described.
oh yeah.
Such a traumatic and it lends itself to so much more trauma. And like hospitals exist for a reason, and we're very grateful to the doctors and nurses who do the work to help keep people safe, but it is also a broken system. And we can hold two truths at the same time that, like, yes, they're supposed to be there to heal us. That's really not what's happening in psychiatric hospitals in most of the country. And it's very disheartening. Okay, so you're in an outpatient doing 6 months of therapy. Let me ask you a question. Was this therapy that was being paid for out of pocket
Well, I
or
didn't have
like
insurance
state?
because it was a lot of
Right,
surprise. So even
right.
the hospitalization was uh on my parents' end was like 60 grand. I don't know. It was nuts.
Okay, so if that's a reason why the Bereishis like if that's the only reason it
I
could get
didn't have any therapy at that
right.
point, but it was definitely a starting factor. That's like when I started to realize, like, wait a second, like something's wrong. Like if you get hospitalized and then you get kicked off your insurance because you're too expensive, how do you heal then?
You
How do
don't.
you how do you how do you continue the treatment plan so you actually fix it? It's like if you have cancer, you find out you have cancer, and then it's like, okay, we're done.
Right, right.
Like
I
we're
I
done paying for you. Good
I read
luck.
a quote. It was actually on Instagram by a doctor who I follow whose name I can't remember now, but she put this post up that like, don't forget that trauma is free and readily available to all people. Healing is expensive and is not readily available to all people. Like,
Yeah.
you know, when I first like so my entry point to suicide prevention was 2016. How old were you in 2016, Israel?
2016, I was probably 13.
Okay, so when you were 13, I was 24, 25, and starting in the suicide prevention realm, and I had such an idealistic, like super kind of rose-colored glasses thought about what the mental health world was like. And like, we'll just, if we just do ABC and we send people to the right program, I knew nothing about insurance. I knew nothing about all the legalities. I didn't know anything about the hoops that people have to jump through. And I kind of had this like naive, very naive idea of like, well, why aren't people just getting better? There's all these tools and resources. And now I've been in it for,
Yeah.
it will be 10 years since I started. And I'm like, wow.
Yeah, and you're asking people who are struggling with not even wanting to be alive right now to deal with the insurance system, the United States insurance system.
Yeah. Or like
Like,
get a,
that's a
try to get
double suicide.
right. Try to get on the phone with someone who you were given a referral to, or like try to get into it. Yeah, no, it's not
I got a not a psychiatry, psychologist appointment 6 months ago. I went to the appointment the other week. They're like, something was wrong, and they're like, sorry, we can't. We're gonna have to reschedule 6 months from now. So that means for one psychology appointment that I needed to begin um, uh, just testing for something, it takes a year to be seen for the first appointment.
right. And in that year, you're still suffering and not having any tools available to you.
Yeah, and then by the time it happens, I'm like, I'm not doing that.
I don't want it anymore. You
Yeah,
know, what's interesting is like a lot of times on when people call the warm line, the reason they're calling is either because they're in between therapy appointments or like we had a caller last week, like they were 5 minutes late to their appointment and the therapist wouldn't see them. So they had blocked
yeah,
off an entire hour that they were supposed to be doing therapeutic work and the therapist wouldn't see them because they were late. And so they ended up calling the warm line and I was on shift. I spoke to them for that 45 minutes that they would have been in therapy. They ended up talking to me.
that is so important. That
I mean,
is so important.
I don't know. I get very, if you put me on the soapbox about this, Israel, I'll never stop talking about it. But I just feel like there is, and I've heard, Kevin Hines, who survived a suicide attempt by jumping off the Golden Gate Bridge in San Francisco, talks about this, that like we have to empower people with tools that are free or cheap or easily accessible that they can do either in community or on their own time, and not only relate on the classic system to help us because the classic system doesn't work for most people. I mean,
Yeah.
right? It
I
just,
also think most people need therapy like 3 times a week to be effective,
right.
but you can't because it's not affordable. And
And
so
besides,
at most you get once a week.
it's like also people have like they have to keep living their lives,
Yeah.
right? Like in the, people still have to put food on the table and make ends meet, take care of their kids, take care of all the other stuff.
Job.
You're
Yeah.
single, keeping a job. Like I think it's not fair that somebody asked me, one of our volunteer, we just trained a group of people last week, and one of the volunteers asked me, like, am I allowed to share the kind of information and discussions that we had, like about suicide and mental health? I was like, I'm not gatekeeping any of this. Like, shout it from the rooftops. Tell everyone you want about everything you learned, because why should it only be contained to to a certain group of people or a certain echelon
Yeah.
of society? Like, it's just not fair. It's not fair.
I mean, I really think it's on the government to just, you know, pay for it. It should be a human right therapy, but it's not. So
To work towards. I'm looking forward to the day that you go to lobby for that, Azriel. I will be cheering you on.
I wouldn't mind President me. But yeah, so I did this outpatient program and exposure therapy, and it was really helpful. I would go into like Publix and like apply for a job and stuff, and that was really hard for me. I don't like being on the phone or texting or anything. At the time, I got a lot better at it now, but yeah, so I did that, and then COVID started, and well, I just finished the program. COVID hit hard, so I wasn't really going back to school. It was all FLVS, online virtual school,
Right.
and that really isolated me and made me feel more depressed. And that's when I really started using substances really heavily, and
Wow.
I started
More than
using a lot of what was that?
even more than before.
Oh yeah, way more, way more, 24/7.
Wow.
And I would like sit in my room and not eat for like 2 days, and would like lose and gain pounds rapidly. Or like if my parent, one time my mom tried speaking to me and like settling me down, but then like I like got really angry and like threw something in the wall and made a hole through the wall. And like I was like, damn, like that could have been her, and like I felt really bad. But
Wow.
like I was just like really going through it, and I was using a lot of painkillers at the time,
Wow.
which had like some ingredient that's really addicting. Um, but yeah, and then opioids and all that.
Wow.
And um, so then my parents were like, "Hey, we gotta do something about this," because like I was about to die. And so they found this place, like this wilderness therapy program in Arizona, and um, looked really interesting. And it was like run by Native Americans and Mormons.
Wow.
And um, so I didn't really know what I was going to. I knew they were going to send me to a place. So I was like, all right, like I'm not going to fight it because whatever, maybe it's like a ranch or something. Or like, honestly, I didn't mind the hospital. You say the hospital was traumatizing. It was traumatizing. I was trying to get out the whole time. But to this day, I still loved being there and I still want to go back sometimes.
Why?
But then I remember like I shouldn't.
Well, so what was why? I'm curious. Like what would be the like because of how contained it is?
It's like getting away from your life, and
Right.
it's like I'm okay. Like you're crazy, but you're in a
But you're safe.
yeah, yeah.
Wow. And so going to the wilderness program, that was the first time then that you were sober for many years.
Oh,
What was that like? That must, I mean, I can't imagine what that withdrawal was like.
oh
That
my gosh, it
crazy.
was the worst feeling of my life.
Wow. So then you're literally taken out of your environment where you're surrounded by some substances and
Yeah,
you're
yeah. And I get sent to the desert,
in the middle
and
of
but
no,
I took acid before. So when I landed in Arizona, I was still like tripping, and then we stopped in well that night. Like I went to I remember going to like a doctor's visit just for like check out, making like a health exam, making sure I'm good for it. You have to get a health exam and a COVID test before, and the doctor's like make sure he doesn't like go out of his window or anything. You should lock the
wow.
doors and watch him.
Wow.
But yeah, so I get sent to this place. At first, my parents dropped me off, and I'm like in a city, and you get dropped off in this building, and it's like it kind of looks like hippie vibes. I'm like, hey, what's going on? Is this a cult or something? And then I say goodbye to my parents. I don't really know what's going on. I go inside this building, and I don't know I'm going to wilderness therapy. I just think I'm going to like rehab or some behavioral health program, and um, I go in. I, Let me tell you, like I hate nature. So I go in, and they start handing me like uh, clothes, like bright orange T-shirts, and like beanies and a sleeping bag and stuff. And I'm like, what's going on here? Like
Wow.
something's wrong. Like, am I going on a hike? Like,
Wow.
like what is this? And they're like, oh, you're going to a wilderness program and you're going to be hiking some days, but you're going to get off some days. So I'm like, okay, so maybe it's like a ranch. I could do
Wow.
this, go for a little morning walk. Like, it sounded nice. So I didn't try to fight it or anything. And they bring me into a room, and there's like uh, two other girls my age there. And the staff is like, um, hey, you guys should start putting your bags together. So someone like, I'm like, what do you mean? So somebody comes, helps put my bag together. And then they're like, okay, you can pick like one thing to order like as lunch. I'm like, oh, this place is so nice. Like I could order food. And um so we get like pizza and like I have a slice. I'm not really hungry. I'm like, I'll have some later.
You had no idea what you were getting yourself into.
I know. I
So
wasn't prepared.
fast forward though, you're like on a wilderness program.
Yeah, they drive me out 10 hours into the middle of the desert, the Arizona desert. They drop me off, and like it's like for real desert. Like I was like so scared, and um, all I have is like my sleeping bag and stuff, and they give you like dry like lentils and rice and pasta for like the week, and no meat. And so they're like, there's you have to do it for 7 weeks, and there's 7 steps. But yeah, there's 7 different rabbit sticks, 7 different steps, and it's called 7 rabbit sticks. And it's like the different paths. So it's like the path of the water, the path of the wind, the path of the um fire. I don't know.
Wow.
S-
We're
s-
there for 7 weeks.
Yeah, and so there's 7 steps, and the first step is you have to make the first day before you move on to the first step, you have to make a fire out of um, a stick and um, a spin, like 2 sticks and like a bow, and you
Wow.
like twist the bow around. And actually, that I have. Can I show it to you?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, I found it. So this is the bag they give you, and you put all your food in here,
Oh my
and then
God.
you like wrap it up, and then you put it in your sleeping bag, and your sleeping bag's like your bag.
Wow.
But this is legit from like years ago. But basically, you get like a board like this, you make this,
Wow.
and you like trim it from bark, you make it flat.
Wow.
Then you got to make
They didn't
this.
give you instructions, Israel. They just,
Well, they tell you what to do, but then you got to do it all yourself.
wow.
They're like, you got to find this stick, and then you got to cut it in half. So, and then you got to find this, and you
Wow.
got to like carve a little thing in it, and then
And
you
you
get
like you had no experience doing anything like this before, right? It wasn't like you went in knowing what to do.
yeah, no,
Wow.
never in my life. So then you go like this, and then like this, and then you have a bow in the middle, and then this spins, and it creates like
How long did it
this.
take you to make the fire?
It took me 4 days.
Wow. It would
Yeah,
probably would have taken me months. I would have been out there for months. Just
dude, I was crying. I was like, "Get me out of here! I can't do this." I was weeping. My hands hurt. I had blisters on my hand, and you can't move to the next step till you get it done, and it was driving me nuts.
wow. When you look back on that experience in your life, being out in the wilderness for 7 weeks with none of the comforts that you were used to, none of the substances that you were using to fill your needs for connection, what was that like? Like,
It was hard. It was really hard because like the main thing is like it's not even living in the desert's the easy part.
mm,
Yeah, the water's cold when you go take a bath like every 3 weeks, but and there's no toilet paper and you got to make your own food. But like honestly, that stuff is pretty easy. The hard part for me was walking like 8 hours a day
wow,
and with a 200-pound thing on my back.
wow,
And like you have to go at a certain speed because your group gets really angry at you if you don't go at a certain speed. Because if you
wow,
don't make it to a certain spot, then like it's too late and your hands are going to be freezing. You're not going to be able to make a fire for that night. You're going to end up eating like walnuts for dinner, which is gross. So um the main thing was like keeping myself busy mentally because you don't want to be there mentally. So what I would do is when I would hike, I would have like someone, anyone who was next to me, I'd be like, "What's your favorite show?" And they'd be like, "One Piece," and I'd be like, "Tell me everything that happened from season 1 to season 26. I want to know every single episode." And then for the next week, I would have someone talking to me nonstop, like a
wow,
podcast.
wow,
And then I would just be able to hike and just be completely out of my mind.
wow.
And it was so nice. But then every morning, my legs would be killing me
I'm sure.
and it would be cold. And they're like, okay, time to get ready to go, pack up. I'm like,
How
kill
do you,
me.
how do you think that it changed you? Like from all those hard experiences that you had there, which like I love hiking. I love nature. Like you prefaced by saying you hate nature. I love nature. I don't know that I would
Well,
hate
it's nice, but 7 weeks
no 7 weeks.
without a shower,
Right.
without meat, without fresh food. I have the food that I found the book. I had. black pepper, raisins, beans, sunflower seeds, rice, tang, butter, powdered butter, uh, flour, pasta, powdered cheese, oats, dehydrated veggies,
Wow.
and salt.
For 7 weeks.
Yeah.
So when you came home from that, like, were you, I mean, I can't imagine that you go through an experience like that and not come out shaped by it.
Yeah, you really appreciate everything. Like you could have whatever food you want. You could have like a shawarma and that has like 100 different ingredients in it. Or like you could use the bathroom and it has toilet paper and you have a bathroom.
Wow.
Or a shower whenever you want with controlled temperature.
Right.
Like that it's amazing. We have an elevator so we don't even have to walk the stairs.
Wow. Can I ask you a question? What was sobriety like for you in those 7 weeks?
It was really hard at first.
I,
Honestly, the whole time. It never got easier at
wow.
all. In fact, I feel like the longer it went on, the harder it was. Because at
Yeah,
first I was
literally
like,
learn how to live without it.
yeah, at first I was like, oh, okay, like I didn't think it would be so long. I thought maybe I could escape or get out. Actually, someone I first got in with, she was like, "Hey, you want to escape with me?" I was like, "I don't know." And then she ended up escaping. I didn't say anything, and then she actually escaped. And then she got caught by hunters,
Oh my,
and she told them that the organization was kidnapping her and stuff. And then the
oh
police like raided them.
my,
But um,
wow.
yeah, it was pretty
So
crazy.
all of these experiences that you're having, at what point was it like that you were able, because it sounds like for so long of your life, you were in the struggle, you were in the journey, you were going through all the difficulties. At what point were you able to turn the attention on like, oh, I want to give back to other people and I want to create? Because like between the two of us as two CEOs and founders of nonprofits, like this is not an easy job. So
Yeah,
how
it's not even a fun industry.
it's not even a fun industry. I mean, it is a really hard industry. And like, sometimes people all like post things on Instagram and they're like, you look like you're having fun all day. I'm like, do you want to come do my job? I love my job. I'm so grateful for my job. Thank you, Hashem, for the schos of having my job. Come do my job for me for a week and then tell me if you really, I mean, I do have like, listen, I make my own fun. I blast my favorite music and
Yeah.
do all my whatever self-care things, but like it's not easy work. So like what gave you, I guess, the courage, the encouragement to say, okay, there are people like I needed help and I had to figure it out for myself. I'm going to create an organization to help people.
Yeah, so it's a few different steps that got me there. Actually, for NFTs and
Oh,
crypto, which is
okay.
kind of funny. Um, so when I got out of the desert, like I didn't want to fall back into my old habits. So
Of
my
course.
cousin got me a job at this media agency where it was very small at the time. It was like six of us, and I started off as like a free intern for 3 months, and I would do like dishes and stuff. And but they started letting me like film on sets, and eventually they started letting me direct sets and come up with the scripts and all campaigns and all this stuff. And it did really good, and we successfully brought this company called Gel Blaster to be bigger than Nerf guns. It was like a Orby gun, and it's in every Walmart now and all the arcades and stuff. And like for place laser tag, and that we basically advertised that and became like a multi-billion-dollar brand. And also like extra debit card, and then this company called Coinbase, which is also very huge now for crypto. Turns out it was owned by the FTX people, whatever. And then, but we got out of that marketing team because they were a mess. But then eventually, my boss, his friend, turns out it was a huge celebrity that I met at a Hanukkah party years ago. Um, and he like man, he made all the like merch for like Jake Paul and Logan Paul and
Mhm.
Kanye and all those people. So, um, he's like, I'm buying this company called Pudgy Penguins. It's a failed NFT company, and they're selling it for only $2 million. So if we all pitch in, we could buy it. So this is not me because I'm just an employee, but so my bosses buy it, and a few of their friends, and they we start turning $2 million NFT company into a multi-billion-dollar NFT company that's now like huge in like Asia and stuff. Um, But during that time, it was all about like um, spreading kindness because it's called Pudgy Penguins. So it was all about like spreading kindness and love. You've probably seen it before. They're on like if you ever used a meme, there it's their meme.
Yeah.
Um, so um, yeah, we'd like pump out videos all day, and my job was to do the reels for the Instagram and um, like come up with the gifs and stuff, and also direct their reality show, which is like behind the scenes look of what they were doing because at the time people didn't trust the NFT space.
Mm,
So I directed that, and it was all about like honesty and using my psychology that I like the raw openness behind the scenes to bring that into the NFT space,
mm,
and people loved it, and they became known as the NFT brand for transparency
wow.
at a time when that wasn't known. But it was all about like spreading kindness and stuff. So for the show, I would go to Jewish schools because those were the only schools that I could get into, and I'd be like, hey, a great publicity would be handing out gift bags with like penguin stuff because there's pudgy penguins or snow cones, bouncy houses, mascots. So we go into like elementary, kindergarten stuff and do this and like film the whole show and stuff. And
Wow.
it was really cool and fun. But during that time, I'm like it's really cool to like make these kids happy and bring back to the community. And I started thinking about like my own journey and like how I could bring that in to like use my new skills that I have in marketing while also using my old skills that I learned in the desert and stuff, and seeing how I could help people who can't afford therapy. Because at the time, I wasn't able to afford therapy either because it was so expensive. So eventually, I was able to get insurance and whatever, figure it out. But I didn't want other people to have to wait so long too and have to deal with all that. Or like if you have insurance, you could only use certain therapists that are in their network. But like if I have a therapist that I'm already using and it's not in their network, then I can't use them and I have to switch it. And then years of building a relationship is totally gone.
Right.
So I was like, this is a massive problem that needs to be filled. So over time, I really kind of felt soulless in my NFT job. So I left the marketing world and directing world to start philanthropy, and um, and that's kind of when I started getting into it. But before the foundation actually launched, I was kind of looking: should I do a super PAC? Should I do maybe get into like government? Like I don't know. I do like government a lot. I like making like
And as we
uh,
talked about,
policies and
this
stuff.
is going to air in a few weeks, but in a few years from now, when you're president, we'll go back and look at it. And
Yeah,
remember all those changes? I mean, I just like, before you get into it, Israel, one thing I'm seeing such a through line, your ability, your resilience, and your ability to go through all the things you went through and go through many life-altering experiences and even life-threatening experiences and come out on the other side. You're 21 years old. Like I mean, it's incredible.
thanks. Yeah, I feel like things don't really get better. You just learn how to ride the wave better. It's like learning to surf. At first, you're drowning all the time, but then it's like, this is
I
pretty
think,
fun.
but that's, I mean, it's like not that it's a cliche, but it's like a very often used term. Like healing is not about like stopping the waves. It's about learning how to surf.
Yeah, new things are always going to come up. People are always going to like be sneaky or try like something. Things
Pain,
happen.
challenge are like that's just part of like the package that we get for being human,
Yeah,
as frustrating as it is.
yeah.
Wow.
So yeah, so I was doing all that, and then my cousin, who's the same age as me, unfortunately passed away due to mental health issues, and one of the last things he did was try to get a therapist and look into that. And so I really took that to heart, and that's like when I officially like signed the papers to actually implement the 501(c)(3) and all of that.
Wow.
Obviously, it took like 6 months to get approved, but um,
Wow.
yeah. So that's when I started, and I started the Bereishis Foundation to provide funding for therapy for children who can't afford it, also educating the schools and stuff. So there's preventative therapy, so they could build resilience before things even happen,
Yeah.
and they don't have to deal with all that. And I started it with only like $50 and totally just like making it seem like a multi-billion-dollar thing. And I pitched it to a bunch of people and was able to raise a couple $1,000 and kickstarted from there and keep leveling up and improve the systems. And then I would discover policies and HIPAA and all this type of
All
stuff.
the things that happen. Like, when I tell people, like, I got into suicide prevention education to help people, I never intended to start a nonprofit. So, like, that's like shocking. But also, like, all the things that I've become an expert in that were not like grant writing and this thing. And
Yep.
it's
Yep.
just like, why would I ever need to know that stuff? But so how many people have you supported through the foundation since its start?
So far, we covered. We're about to hit a year. May 8th is our 1 year anniversary.
Cool stuff.
So far, we covered 436 sessions.
That's incredible.
Yeah, and then also handled a couple hundred, well, a couple thousand calls actually, for like referring people and all that type of stuff,
Wow.
sorting things out, answering questions.
That's
So
incredible.
we really have, I really put a lot of time into setting up a really robust team that could run on its own, like a real machine, no matter how my mental health is. Because like I have diagnosed BPD, so like, which is like borderline personality disorder. So I know like I'm not good every day. So like I did a couple of things to like put myself in check, even if I'm not able to keep myself in check. So the organization is able to run pretty efficiently without me when I'm not able to. So we still have like 24/7 customer service and things going on.
Wow.
And I'm not like doing the podcast, I have someone else doing that. So it's all good. And then for my money, the greatest thing I ever did, if you have mental health issues or you have addiction issues, if you make a lot of money, when I made a bunch of money buying the carts, I mean selling the vapes and stuff, um, what I did was I took all that money in 2021, bought, turned it all into gold,
Mm,
like physical gold bars. At the time, it was $1,400 an ounce. I mean, $1,600 an ounce. And I put all of it, so I can't touch it because I knew if I had it, I would blow it all
right.
on like drugs. So, and then I forgot about, I put in a safe, forgot about it. And then like this year, I looked at it and price of gold was $5,000 an ounce, and
Wow.
I didn't use any of my money, so now I have enough to move to a nicer apartment and all
Sure.
this stuff.
But it sounds like what you've done and realized is that you're going to have your ups and downs, and it sounds like your mental health journey is something you're still very much on. Like, it's not like,
Oh
okay,
my gosh, yeah, I had three. I usually have therapy once a week. I had therapy 3 times last week and the week before because like I was struggling so much with something. But I found like as long as I have help and I'm working on it, like things become
I
okay.
think that's an important piece, and I want to zoom in on that again, just because I think people have this idea that like a healing journey looks like a certain thing, and it's like I remember seeing a reel once on Instagram where it's like people think that healing is like crystals and oils and meditation and sound baths, and then it's like it cuts to a girl in the teacups at Disneyland, and she's like screaming for her life as it's going in circles. I'm like, yeah, that's healing is very someone asked me once, they're like, oh, at what point did you start the organization? Like, was it when you were feeling better? I was like, that's hilarious. The first year and a half that the Long Short Road existed, I was in such a deep, deep, deep depression that like
Wow.
I was right. And it wasn't because I was like super healed and like ready. You see a need and you see that there's a need to fill the need. And like, I don't know, you can tell me if this has been your experience, but for me personally, one of the greatest gifts that running this organization has given me has been having a front row into watching other people heal. And that's given me a lot of courage to do my own work because I've had to do a lot of my own work still, and I still do every day. And it sounds like that's a realization that you have also, which is really, really important.
Yeah, and so motivating because like most days I wake up, I'm like, why am I doing this? But then I get a call or an email. It's like, thank you so much.
Yeah.
Like, it means so much. I'm like, it makes me feel so great. I'm like, yeah, this is nice. And then I get motivated to
Right.
continue.
Right. We're making a difference. So then actually, let me ask you that. What is your way of taking care of yourself? Being in therapy sounds like one of them.
Yeah, lots of therapy. And when things get worse, go to therapy more. Another thing I do is walk a lot. So like the reason like I bought a dog impulsively before. I don't know if I mentioned it on this podcast, but like last week I impulsively bought an Australian Shepherd. Best dog ever, by the way. adopted him, but I love to walk, and walking is really, really great for me because, like, no matter what I'm thinking, like, if I could walk, I could move past it mentally because I'm physically moving past it,
Yeah.
and I'm not staying stuck in bed. So, um, I really just try to go on the longest walks possible. Yesterday, I walked 4 hours straight.
Wow.
Yeah, like, my legs were numb after that, but I felt so good, and it's what I needed because I didn't wanna just stay in bed, and I just needed to keep going, and that really helped me. So, just walk, walk, and walk.
Amazing.
And ice, put ice on your chest, that I love too.
I do that
I put,
too.
like, ice here.
Do you know what I have? I like literally I tell everyone. I was at a conference and like one of my favorite therapists in the world was presenting the conference and she mentioned something about how she gets migraines. I was like, "Oh my God, I can't wait to tell you about this thing I use." I have these caps, like silicone caps that I bought from Amazon, and you stick it in your freezer and then it goes on your face like a mask, but it's like super cold. And I use that minimum one time a day. Like that's a
That seems awesome. That's so much better. I use a plastic bag and then have water all over me.
No, so you don't get wet because I like the cold and wet thing. Growth, like it just doesn't do it for
Yeah, yeah.
people. Love ice baths and like cold plunges, and like I can't even like a cold shower. I can't do. But you put it. Some of them, I actually saw this on Shark Tank. It comes as like a whole beanie that co also covers your eyes, so you get the cold exposure at the top of your head also. And they're like $10. You stick it in the. I literally have dozens in my freezer. Like I was
That
using
seems
it so
great.
often that my husband like bought a bunch from Alibaba just to have. So I just
You
like,
should, like, add the link to the bottom of this
oh,
podcast
we
for
will.
whoever
Totally. I
needs it.
actually want to brand them like with the Long Short Road logo and sell them on our site for
You
cheap.
should.
Like, I like, so see, that's, I'm gonna have to hold myself to that
I'll
because
buy one.
I did
Let me know
myself
when they're
saying
out.
that on the podcast. Um, okay, so let me ask you a question. And I'll like as we're like come wrapping up, I'm curious what's been your experience of like bringing this to the community and like teachers and adults and like people's, I guess, like from the curriculum side, like having these conversations. I think that we've made a lot of progress in the Orthodox Jewish community and in the Jewish community at large. I do think that there's still a pretty big stigma, especially around things like addiction and suicide. Like I think we've become much more comfortable talking about anxiety and depression and sadness and challenge it. I think there's still the like higher bar, so to speak, of like suicidality and addiction and chronic issues that people are really scared of. So, like, what are you kind of seeing from putting the curriculums or like putting the educational component out in the world? Like, what's people's reactions been?
Very mixed reactions, I would say. We get a lot of positive um feedback from, like, families that had to deal with it, and teachers because they witness it daily. So they seem to have a really good understanding along with principals, but the more pushback we get is from parents who haven't dealt with it yet because it seems like indoctrination or manipulation and brainwashing of propaganda, which I totally get because it's like the Western medical field is very sketchy when
Yeah,
it comes to its foundations, and I
right.
think it should be met with skepticism. But as Jews, we're always good at questioning and debating and picking things
Amen.
apart. And I think we could do that with mental health. And I think we're on a great track, like you said. Like we're moving in the right direction, but there's still a lot of misunderstanding. And I think we just have to keep explaining and making people understand because nobody's like, hey, let me be an evil person and make sure these kids don't get help. Everyone thinks they're doing what's right for the next generation, and everybody's trying to be a good person. Nobody thinks they're a bad person, nobody's trying to be a bad person, and everybody's trying to do what's right. It's just like politics, right? You have different sides, but nobody's trying to, like, destroy, self-destruct. They're just trying to do what they think is right.
Right.
And I think as long as we keep informing and uh, teaching each other, I think we'll be in a good direction. But we can't hate on each other, and we can't try to be like, oh, they're going against us. It's like, why are they going against us? How can we work together?
Right. Right. Yeah, that's a really good reminder. I feel like I really needed to hear that because when people are oppositional, I get really judgy.
Yeah, and it's okay because they're trying to do what they think's best,
Right,
just
right.
like you're trying to do what's best. So try
Mhm.
to hear each other out, see what's going on, try to work with each other because both of you guys are right.
It's true. It's just finding the common ground. Um, my last question for you. Do you have a message of hope for someone who's like really in the thick of it right now? Someone who either is, struggling immensely with mental health and not finding the right therapist, or therapy's too expensive, or they don't even know where to start. Like, what's your message of hope for people who are really struggling right now?
Well, you could always give us a call
Yes.
and we could help you guide in the right direction along with you. But if you need something like other than therapy, just if you really are suffering through life and you don't really care about anything, you have more freedom than everyone
Mm.
because you have no goal or expectations, which means you could do whatever you want. Like I wouldn't have started this organization if I went to school and college and
Right.
things worked out fine. I would have probably just had a normal job and be bored of it after 2 years. But like when you don't have anything to care for, you could take the biggest risks. When I started this organization, people are like, "Why would you do it? Like, there's no money. Do something else. Like, why? Like, you don't have to do this. It doesn't work out. It's too hard. It's too complicated." But it's like I didn't have anything else to do. It's this or rot in bed. So, why not? Go do whatever you want if you're into something. If you're bored, like make a food list of all the places you want to try, the craziest food you would ever try, and go out and do that. Just have fun. Don't take life seriously. So.
What I'm hearing from you in that message is like, yes, do the work, but also give yourself the permission and freedom to realize that like the magic is kind of in your hands to like do the thing you really want to do and not let the challenges in life hold you back.
Yeah, don't get stuck. Keep doing stuff. Have fun, and you're always like you may always feel bad, but make sure you're at least having fun while feeling bad.
Yes.
So
Well, it's interesting that you said that because there is a component to that like in some ways when you're struggling and when you're suffering and when your mental health is declining, it can feel very difficult to access that part of ourselves, but that's actually how we heal. Like, people think that healing means we need to like put in a lot of work and put in a lot of effort. It's really about giving our brains and our nervous systems new experiences to teach us that we're like safe. Like just like you had your exposure therapy and had to go into a grocery store and apply for a job, right? Like they purposefully put you in a new uncomfortable environment so that you could learn that you could handle it. And like,
exactly.
right, so we can handle the hard things. Life, there will always be challenges because that's the inevitability of being human. Right? Like if
Yeah.
God didn't want us to struggle, he wouldn't have created us. He just would have just given the world to the Malachim and then like they would, be happy-go-lucky all day long. But that's not
Yeah.
the reality of the world. The reality of the world is we are going to have pain and experience difficulties and go through our challenges, but that we can keep choosing. I think it was Viktor Frankl who says, yeah, it is Viktor Frankl. The title of one of his books that came out only recently was Say Yes to Life in Spite of Everything. And
Love
so
that.
I really commend you, Azriel, for
Oh,
saying,
and here's another thing. If
yes,
you really are suffering from mental health, and it's easy to say like, oh, go out and ride a bike. Like even if you're suffering, like it's hard, and honestly, you probably can't. So find a way to force yourself. Like whether that's like having a friend come over at a certain time to drag you out of bed, um, or like possibly get a dog that will bark at you unless you go out, at a certain time. Otherwise, you get bit. Or, find something that will force you.
yeah, something that will like help
Make
jolt you,
sure it's out of your grasp
right? That's
when you know you
I
can.
liked that example that you gave of like having a friend to do it with because it's much easier to do something with a friend than it is
You
by,
want to do something by yourself. I
right?
don't want to walk for no reason. I don't want to walk to nowhere. If I have a purpose and I'm with somebody or I'm doing something, like it makes what I'm doing good. But
Yeah,
just doing it to get out of my head doesn't really do anything.
yeah, yeah.
So,
Well, Azriel, I wish you a lot of continued success in what you're doing. Keep up the amazing work. I'm going to put all the info for the Bereishis Foundation in the show notes so everyone can find you.
thank you so much. And it was great speaking to you and keep me posted with all the great work you're doing because it's really cool. So,
Thank you. Thank you. Definitely will. Thank you for tuning in to Heart to Heart. If you or someone you love is struggling, please know there is hope and help is within reach. Since 2019, the Long Short Road has been walking alongside at-risk individuals, offering trauma-informed programs, a non-emergency hotline, and a community that fosters healing. No one has to go through this alone, and we are here for you. Discover how the Long Short Road is changing lives. Visit www.thelongshortroad.com or email us at info@thelongshortroad.com to learn more. You can be part of this mission. Sponsorship opportunities for Heart to Heart are available. Honor a loved one, support your community, and help us make mental wellness resources accessible to those who need them most. Until next time, remember, love and connection are the greatest healers. This is Lee Yaffe reminding you, hope is here, healing is possible, and you are never alone. Together, we're walking this long, short road to a brighter future.